Hey, it's Don the Auction Professor here. I'm going to shout out another bolo, something I do look for. I'm not big in pottery, but there's one area that I usually buy no matter what, and it's salt and pepper shakers. There's big collectors in salt and pepper shakers. You get the right one, they can go for hundreds of dollars. There's even some that can go for $1,000 or plus. So I always look for salt and pepper shakers. I've got tons of them in right now. Sometimes you're lucky, you can buy a whole collection from a collector of salt and pepper shakers and walk out with hundreds of them for just a few $100. So most of the salt and pepper shakers you find will not go for a ton of money, but there are some specifics and vintage ones and specific topics that will have multiple category interests. Those are best ones to get because you can sell them in many categories and you're not just looking for salt and pepper shakers. It's a plus for any of these that I look for. So we're going to go to the screen and we're going to show you some salt and pepper shakers right now to be looking for right this minute. So today, as I said, we're going to talk about salt and pepper shakers. The best ones to buy are ones that are figural characters, like comic book characters, movie related, advertising, sterling, of course, pretty much anything sterling's good. Silver plate can be good. And then there's open salts where you could actually just dip your spoon into an open bowl and you just shake the salt on your plate from there. Salt cellars, they would be called as well. Sometimes you'll just see single shakers. Any of that can be worth some money depending on, you know, the maker, how cute it is. Here's just a real good example here. There's no name on this one or no maker. It had 25 bids. This is a modern day one. This is from, November of just this past year, made probably in the 60s or so. It's extremely cute. It's something you won't see. No maker's mark, as I said, other than just being marked Japan. It's the cork style. Those are what I look for. Top hat and rabbit. I mean, this is just key here. Made in occupied Japan helps. They don't have that in the title. It was still drawn in by the image. $710. So, just the top hat could have went for 50 to a couple $100. And who would have thought that that little piece would be worth something? I do mess with single ones as well, too. It's whatever I can find. So the number one factor I look for is how graphic is it? How cute? Is it something somebody's going to want? Is it appealing to somebody? This one has many different categories you could list this in. This could go in the collectibles animals under rabbits. It could go in the magic section, pottery, occupied Japan, salt and pepper shaker section in the pottery section, or there's actually a kitchenware where you could list this in as well too. So there's like 6 categories this could have went into. Multi-category items are 100% better than one that would just go into one category, unless it's something really scarce, really rare, that will instantly sell for you. You will sell this far better across the board. Now this one went for an auction. This one would have been a hard-pressed one to know what to put on something like this. So sometimes on pieces like this, I do auction them. Most paper items I will not do that too because I'm very good on the prices, but something like this I might be a little puzzled on. You can possibly find some others pricing on this on Worth Point and such forth, but I doubt it. These are very scarce items for the most part. A lot of people might not even put them up or think they'll be worth something or find them separately and think, why would I list that one item? If you know what else went with that one salt shaker or the one pepper shaker that you got, you may have some good money there even with one. And I guarantee you, you're going to get all of those dirt cheap because most people don't think single salt and pepper shakers are worth anything. Someone breaks one, they have a set, I always buy them. It's like replacement pieces. Treat the salt and pepper category of the salt and pepper items that you find, even though they can go in 6 categories, like you would a coffee mug. Those high-dollar coffee mugs. It's the same principle for these. We're just going to go across a few here. George Jensen. Now, I've shown George Jensen stuff quite often. In many of my videos, I get them fairly often. A lot of people miss them. Most of them are marked 800. This one's actually marked sterling, so it's a little better. And it's 925 sterling. Now, they did 800, as I said. This would be an export piece, would be my guess, versus just one from their country made to be sold, which would be usually marked with 800. And those are, as I said, European versions of this. It's rather fancy. $750. These are really nice ones in my book. I really love these. It reminds me of like the some of the World's Fair artwork with the sphere and the whole works. But anyway, now here is I believe this is just a single one. There would have probably been a ball that it would sit on, and that would have been the salt, or that he would have leaned against. sterling silver, London maker John Odell. I don't know all these makers, but you can easily look them up. I went over them in another video just covering marks. So go to that video and look up the marks if you find something like this. All the information for all of these silver pieces like this is available online for free. No money involved. You can go to it anytime you want. Here's another one. This is just a single one again, $5.93. Now, more people are going to know these single ones are worth something if they're made out of sterling, of course. So I'm talking about the ones like the ceramic ones, the pottery ones, the 50s, 60s, and such forth. I'll buy lots of those in with broken ones and things like that for the individual ones sometimes, because some are worth some money. The character ones I always buy, even if it's single. And I can usually get salt and pepper shakers, as I said earlier, from even sometimes Craigslist lots or a sale locally. And I can sometimes walk away with hundreds of them for a relatively small amount of money. Most family members don't realize they're worth so much. So in the past, I've gotten 100 plus sets for like $1.50. Basically $1 a set when I bought them all. So this one here, $5.93 with 25 bids. Here's some sellers, basically open salts. Salt would go in the middle, or on the bottom ones it would go in the little shell over there. Another typical example, this is Tiffany. These are modern day, $600. These would probably be something like a wedding gift or something along that line. Here's some more salts. Sterling Silver, Archbold Knox. Now that's a known company, Liberty and Company. I see these occasionally. There's some with inserts, as you see here, with any of the sterling and silverware and service pieces like that. Now this is an early one, so it has some, looks like some hand painted on enamel as well. $560. Now these are high end. You're not going to find many of these, but I honestly do find something rare like this, maybe once or twice a year. It only takes once or twice a year to add $500 to $1,000 to your bottom line. So add your bolos. Whatever you can get out of this, get it. Remember these things. This is going to walk you through the world of selling antiques and collectibles. There's tons of it around. A lot of this stuff is just missed by people all the time. There's even in my area, even with competition, I'm still able to score all the time. 503. Here's some more figural. Now, I've had the boy singly. They will show up. I got 175 out of just the boy. Same basic thing. It might not be identically made by the same company. It was marked 800. It looked almost identical. There's many different versions. It depends on the company that made them. They copied similar ones that sold from one company by another company, so it's not odd. 445 on that one. Here's a nice little lot. Now, these are... See, these look all, these are all really common in all honesty. Nothing fancy or elaborate whatsoever. Some of these are newer. The dog one's pretty cute there, but I can't believe they sold for $425. But salt and pepper shaker people do collect. They want something. They'll fight over it. Whatever the case may be. Maybe there's one in here. I'm not aware of every one, so maybe there's one in here that's worth some money. Free local pickup as well. Next one here is Rose O'Neil. It's Cupid Doll salt and pepper shakers. These look original. One way to tell if they're real usually is that they'll have blue wings. I always look for the blue wings before I even decide after that. They may not be marked. They aren't actually marked with her name. It might be embedded maybe. No, you'll just have to get the gist on knowing the difference on these, I guess. You can tell if they're not marked by the looks, by the execution of the figures and such forth, the aging on it as well. $350. Most things, if they're vintage 60s or before of Rose O'Neil or Cupies, do sell at some point. And as I said, characters are the best. This one has a bobblehead, so this one's a little bit off on that. Happy Homer, it's another character. I believe it's an advertising piece. Salt and pepper shakers, of course, on the sides. $3.95. It's a little hard to judge on the value of just the salt and pepper because the bobblehead's probably half of it, I would gather, at least. So maybe $1.50 for the pair of the salt and pepper shakers. Early Mickey. And it doesn't even matter from my opinion and what I've seen on these if they're actually Disney shakers or not. There's a lot of knockoffs. A lot of these carry value because of what they're trying to portray, not necessarily being an original or official one, just that it's from the right era, and that's what they were trying to sell it as. Copyrights were much different back then, so $3.50 on this one. Some more characters, Mutt and Jeff. There's the kids, and then Mutt and Jeff right there, too. Now, they started in, I believe, late 1890s, if I'm not mistaken, and were very popular up until 1910, 20s, even in the 30s and 40s, you could still see them in the Sunday comics. They are from the platinum age of comic book collecting. They are the earliest comic characters, I guess you'd say, or some of. There's some earlier than this, like Yellow Kids or something is in that same era. $300 basically for those. Advertising, as I said. Even some, and I think these are tin. Park Falls, yeah. Some of these you'll actually see are just tin, so it basically looks like a beer can with the screw-on lid for the most part. They might be miniature, and there's some that I've seen that were big for like table service restaurants. At $285 for those. 17 bids as well. Okay, and the next one here is a Hermes. Now, everybody knows this name. I believe it's written up here around the rim. Yeah, right there. Authentic piece. There are books. There are ways to tell. You can have them authenticated as well. $280. Let's move on here. Now, here's a really neat set. I like some of these kind, too. Usually, you won't find a whole tray worth of them. At least matching set like this, too. Usually, it's 2, of course. 4, 6. This would have been for a whole table. And you would have many services, so it just wouldn't be one for a big table. $287. They were sold for tourist items. They were exports to this country after the war. $287, as I said. 50 bids on those. Now here's some eggheads. Obviously you can see why they're called eggheads. They look to be totally hand-painted. Yeah, and they're made in Japan, standard marking. The red one, I see that on a lot of stuff. $244. They're mostly going for the value because of the heads. The egghead shape, the design work, the painting. 1920s, 30s maybe, I might guess. Rather interesting in general. And their luster as well, too, which has that glistening effect that like makes a mirrored rainbow effect, I guess you could say. Now here's some pink depression glass. Sometimes the lids are sterling, sometimes the silver plate, and sometimes they're aluminum. So all three of those could be an option on what you'd find. American Sweetheart is the pattern too. Mint, $250. One of these, of course, if you just see one, it has value as well. That's why I say I don't worry if it's just one shaker or another. Here's Versace. You can see the Medusa head logo in the middle there, so very obvious. They still have another one for sale. New items. Last one too, so $245. As I said, I buy new ones. I can buy, for $1 or so a piece, sometimes in wholesale deals, and get a couple hundred, sometimes 10,000 if I really wanted that many salt and pepper shakers of a certain variety, and crank them out. But you got to be careful to make sure that it's going to sell. Here's an interesting one, Norcrest. It's a known brand. 50s or so, I would guess, on these. Yeah, I was going to say most of the time they have the little stickers on them. Made in Japan. Just be cautious. Sometimes I see people gluing stickers that do not belong on an item onto the item. This one looks a little crinkled. It's hard to say, but who knows. $89, 26 bids. Now here's a Disney set here. This is two of the mice from Cinderella. Pretty adorable characters, and they're actually new, as you see, or 90s or thereabouts, or newer, I would gather, by the marking. I'm not straight off by new China items if they're Disney and things like this, too. Especially even the C, copyright C Disney logo that you see on these. $120 basically, 43 bids, no box. Next one here, Holt Ward. These are, I think they're marked on the bottom. Yeah, you can kind of see the marking. It's kind of hard to see, but these are probably 50s or 60s. Basically, snow babies. Salt and pepper, $115. Now here's some Mackenzie Childs. Courtly check enamel large. I believe they're metal and enameled, if I'm not mistaken, or something along that line. Yeah, it looks like that's what they are. These are imports, too, so a lot of these will sell. 4 available, 1 sold, $115. This is something that I might try and snag up on a wholesale deal, buy a couple hundred of them, depending on the sales history, of course. On Amazon, you can have mixed results on some items, so sales ranking's key on all of that. So 114, as I said, new items. And here's another Holt Howard set. Now, these are adorable, too. Typical 50s items. I think this one has a nice sticker. See if we can see it. Well, you can see the H from the Holt. It's basically 2 H's, Holt Howard. I can see kind of, well, it's hard to tell, but it's missing a big stripe during the middle of it. It's basically 2 H's stacked on each other in alternating colors or tones or tints depending on the type of label. But 110 on these. That's what I basically have for you here. There's tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 different salt and pepper shakers that are possibly worth buying. And again, they are worth it singly, but make sure you know which ones you're buying. The majority of them aren't going to be worth it singly, but I run into single ones quite often that do carry, let's say I pay $1 for a salt shaker, pepper shaker, and it may carry a value of, say, $15-20. May not sound like a lot, but if you buy 10-15 at the same place for $1 a piece, or you lump a bunch of shakers together with individual ones, and you can usually get them to throw in single shakers when you're buying big lots and things like that. At least that's my personal experience. Especially if you're buying an entire collection of them and they've got some set in the side or something. And again, I will buy them. I see them at the thrift stores occasionally. That's one of the 100% things I always look for. I always look for salt and pepper shakers, single or not. I'll scour the shelves just like I would a coffee mug. So for all of you who are looking for coffee mugs, add salt, pepper shakers to the list, even singly. If you got a Versace one or Hermes, a single one, somebody might not even realize that's what it is because of the way they market. Most people will look to the bottom of them instantly and say, oh, nothing. Put it down, it's a single one, it's not going to be worth much money. You come by and you're snagging it. You're going to get $40-50 for a single one, minimum. So anyway, but that's what I have for you. Hopefully that gave you some thoughts on it. Well, there you go. Those are salt and pepper shakers. I look for them all the time. I do like them. I love the artwork and the imagery in some of them. I love the anthropomorphic figures and things like that. They sell very well for us. It's one of the ceramic areas that I still do mess with all the time, just like mugs and things along that line as well, too. But that's what I have for you today, Don the Auction Professor. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.